Like, what is it exactly about this industry and food that drew you to it?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a family that celebrated food. I was lucky that way. My father is a landscape architect and urban designer, and so had always been into creating gardens and gardening a lot at home.
Did you have anything to do with your yard?
Well, welcome. Yeah, so we're sitting on the farm right now, and yeah, right. Which has you shouldn't pan around too much because it needs a lot of love. I'll take you down. I'll take you down to the garden. After this, but. He's certainly been an influence here, but I grew up with him always creating gardens wherever we lived, and my mom is just an amazing cook, and so she was always kind of had a pot going or was making chicken soup or just real simple kind of classic homemade meals. So I grew up with kind of a love for food, always being around, and then after trying my hand at some other things and the attempts at a liberal arts education, which didn't really pan out for various reasons, it was just decided that I'd give food a shot. So that's kind of how it started. And my first foray into that was this little grocery store. And the owner of that grocery store had an adjacent cafe, and so I was like a stock boy. I was probably like 14, stocking shelves, folding newspapers on Sundays, that sort of thing. But I was always looking in the cafe door. I'd kind of finish up my shifts, and I'd walk out, and I'd walk by the cafe and look in the back kitchen door and be like, man, how do I get in there? Like, those guys look cool. There's like fire, there's knives, there's exciting
Riff-raff.
Yeah, riff-raff, exciting things happening. They all kind of look like a bunch of pirates out on their smoke break behind the restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And so I was like, this is very interesting. Something about this is very cool. And so I kept asking him, hey, how do I get in there? How do I get in there? He's like, you're not ready. You're too young. Eventually, maybe someday. And I just stuck with that gig.
How
And
old are you at this time?
14,
Okay.
probably.
Yeah.
13, 14. And then, 2 years later, 2 seasons later, he said, you want to give your shot at prep? And I said, yeah. So he started me at prep, and, I was making stocks and, peeling vegetables and taking the trash out and filling the, cooks like quart containers with Pepsi and, all those things that a young prep cook does. And I just kind of fell in love with it. It really kind of the food bug bit me, I think, at that point.
So what aside from the food, I mean, obviously food is a big part of the romance in working in kitchens and restaurants, but what else did you fall in love with or in?
Well, I fell in love with the whole culture. I think like I've always had a really great work ethic. I love to work. I think that was instilled by my parents. I loved and appreciated, and still do to this day, the fact that, kitchens, restaurants, food service operations, they're places where you can go in and you can really work hard, and you get to see the fruits of that labor at the end of the day. You walk away and you can look back on a product that you've created, that you've had your hands in. Like, that's very fulfilling for me. And so I think that piece of it, kind of that trade or that craft of it, was like really interesting to me.
Okay, so when did you say to yourself, all right, this is what I want to do, this is where I'm going to start being intentional, I want to start climbing the ladder, working at better and better restaurants, I'm going to go to school for this? Like, when did you know that was going to happen?
Well, so after a number of seasons cooking in New England, summer seasons cooking in New England, it was time for college. And so I decided to enroll at Hampshire College, which is out in Western Mass. And I gave that a try, and I was there for a year, and it wasn't a good fit, right, for me or the school necessarily. So it was kind of mutually decided, let's say, between administration and my family and myself, that liberal arts college wasn't the thing for me.
Okay. Is there a good enough story here to go into, or should we just skip over?
There's more in my book. If you really want to dig deep, you can get into the book. But
what's the name of the book? I want to make sure we get it out.
It's called Homegrown: Cooking from My New England Roots.